And you're on the leader in pure classic country, 98.7 and AM 1580 WLIJ. We're getting ready for the 67th running of the Great American Race, the Daytona 500, live this Sunday afternoon at 12:30 with the Motor Racing Network here on WLIJ. And speaking of the boys in blue, got one that's been there since 2002, the turn announcer for NASCAR Cup Series broadcasts and has some time in the Xfinity and Craftsman Truck Series broadcast. You also hear him weekday mornings at 10:30 here on WLIJ with NASCAR Hot Pass. It's Mr. Kyle Rickey. Kyle, how are you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
Doing well, and just getting ready for the Super Bowl of the year. For someone who might be new to the sport, could you describe to someone maybe just the mystique of the Daytona 500 and the Daytona International Speedway? I have not personally been there myself, but having been to somewhere like Indianapolis Motor Speedway, what is that presence like of a place like that?
Yeah, it's amazing. Even empty. We were here a couple of nights ago setting things up for the week ahead, and just walking around the property, knowing the history. You mentioned the 67th running coming up this Sunday of the Daytona 500. So much history has been made here in Daytona. And we're obviously going to set some more history here coming up this Sunday. And it's amazing when with a full grandstands, you have the flyover, you have all the pre-race festivities that will take place on Sunday leading up to the race. And then, obviously the event itself speaks for itself. Just an amazing piece of property that is so important to the history of sports and especially motorsports.
Absolutely. Well, let's take a look at the front row for this year. A little different from last season where Penske got his first ever 500 pole. Chase Briscoe and Austin Cindric sharing the front row. Chase Briscoe being the first Daytona 500 pole for Toyota, the first for Coach Joe Gibbs since Bobby Labonte in 1998, I think I heard. How surprising was it, Kyle, to finally see a Toyota beat the Hendricks and the Penske's?
Yeah, it's been, like you mentioned, Chevrolets for so many years with Hendrick Motorsports and guys like Jimmy Johnson and Alex Bowman and William Byron always claiming those front couple of spots for the 500. And then recently, the Fords have done well. And then now Toyota stepping up last night. And one of probably the more unlikely Toyotas, and Chase Briscoe making his debut with Joe Gibbs Racing, was optimistic yesterday when I talked to him at Media Day. Didn't think he had speed to get the front row from yesterday morning's 55-minute practice session, but obviously he did. They got the pole position, his first ever pole in the 500, third in his career. I know he spent some time last night kind of clearing his mind as his family expanded during the off season, had another child. He was out fishing at Lake Lloyd about 30 minutes before he went out to take time. So that was pretty cool to see him, go from putting down the fishing pole to getting the pole position for the Daytona 500. And Austin Cindric, Team Penske always strong, a former winner of the Daytona 500 in Austin. The Fords have run well here the last couple of years, especially on pole night. Looking for his second 500 win here this Sunday. Not as big of a surprise as Chase, debuting with Joe Gibbs Racing.
Yeah, I'd love to see that excitement from Chase Briscoe. Of course, all green there to the Toyota camp, but he is all in with his Bass Pro Shop sponsorship, as he has repeatedly let people know that, and also getting into the fishing hobby too for them as well. Toyota also got their open cars into the show last night, as of this recording, on time. Martin Truex Jr. and Jimmy Johnson, so a big weekend already for the Toyota camp. Kyle also had 9 open cars entered this year. I wonder what does that say about the health of the sport? I know you, from your experience, you've certainly seen the boom period, and then you went through the lull time, and now it seems to be growing in a healthy way now.
Yeah, a lot of new team owners looking to come in, or fairly new owners wanting to expand, like we saw with Front Row Motorsports and Roush Fenway Keselowski Racing, as that team has evolved in the last 5 to 7 years. It's nice to see them add a third team, and Ryan Preece, being their newest driver, qualified third last night. So obviously that's probably not where he's going to start on Sunday, but at least he's in a good starting spot for the duel here later tonight. But yeah, with how this sport has evolved, it has attracted new teams, and it's one of the largest fields that we have seen in more than a decade. The last few years, these twin qualifying races has really been about positioning drivers for the 500, maybe one or two drivers wouldn't make the race, but I mean, there was a legit chance that a Martin Truex Jr., a former champion, Jimmy Johnson, a 7-time champion, could have missed a race. But, fortunately, like you mentioned, they had good qualifying runs last night. It'll be Toyota's largest field they ever had in the 500, so that'll be something we watch on Sunday. But, guys like Helio Castroneves, a 4-time Indy 500 winner, coming in as an open car for the first time. Justin Allgaier running for Dale Earnhardt Jr. This is Jr.'s first venture into the NASCAR Cup Series as a team owner. He'll have to race in later tonight. The stories are endless, and a very healthy field, a very tight field in qualifying last night, and something that we should expect the rest of the week.
I'm glad you mentioned Spider-Man Helio Castroneves with his 4 Indy 500s and trying to move over here to see if he can get a Daytona 500 Harley J. Earl. But yeah, that's a big storyline, and also Justin Allgaier, and seeing Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Kelly Earnhardt Miller and all of Junior Motorsports being all in on this one Cup start, the first one, and seeing how Dale Jr. was there at 6:00 in the morning, ready to roll in through tech with him and see the whole process. He's just a student of the sport, as we know. Another storyline here, 21 years of trying and frustration from both Martin Truex Jr. and Kyle Busch. KB in 2023 leading at mile marker 500, but not close, but no cigar. And then Martin Truex Jr. by inches in 2016 to Denny Hamlin. What do you believe that their veterans' approach is to this race after so long?
Yeah, they obviously have the most experience out of anybody in the field, both looking for their first wins. Kyle Busch seemed like more motivation to get that win yesterday, and talking to him at Media Day, he said it's the one thing on his resume that's missing that he really wants to add. Martin seemed a little more laid back, nonchalant about, if I get it, I get it. If I don't, I'll be okay. But with Kyle being full-time in the series still, this is his 20th opportunity at the 500. He hasn't won in a year and a half. They looked great yesterday in the early morning practice. They looked pretty good last night in qualifying, ending up in the 7th spot, I think, or I guess the 14th spot. He'll start 7th here later tonight. Kyle's hungry. He wants to win. He knows he still has it. I know he's getting a lot of pressure from his son Brexton, who won his major event earlier this year in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So Kyle said, it's time for me to step now and get it done. He knows his career is probably winding down into the final couple of years. Truex is already retired and is only coming back for a couple of events this year, including this event. But again, I think Kyle's going to be the one to watch on Sunday. He mentioned that a couple of years ago, leading at the 500-mile marker. So he claims he's a winner of the Daytona 500. Just unfortunately, that year it was the Daytona 512 with the overtime finish.
RCR rolling out the truck with some speed already this weekend. That'll be certainly one to watch. And I believe if he were to take the checkered flag, you probably would have another edition of every member of every crew greeting him there at the finish. Absolutely. One more thing here, Mr. Ricky. Trackhouse Racing, RFK, Colleague, 2311, Front Row Motorsports, they all have in common that they've added another team to their stable for 2025. Just for the new year as a whole, just coming to mind, which one of these benefit and which one do you think might have some struggle?
I think Roush Fenway Keselowski will find some benefit. Brad, obviously a veteran of the series, he knows what he's doing, and he knew what he was doing last year when he made the decision to expand. Chris Buescher, obviously a part of that team, won for them last year. Brad picked up a checkered flag last year. And then Ryan Preece, lost his ride at Stewart-Haas Racing. They were able to bring him over during the off season. And another driver that, we talked to yesterday at the media sessions has so much pressure to perform. There's a lot of folks that have their eyes on Ryan, saying he can't do it. He's a modified guy from the Northeast. Maybe the Cup level isn't for him. Yet he goes out and he wins in the Truck Series and the Xfinity Series and limited starts. Third last night in time trial qualifying. I look for Ryan and RFK to shine bright among the teams that have added entries for this year. I'm not sure Front Row Motorsports is ready for a third team. They brought Noah Gragson in this season, replacing Michael McDowell, who departed to go to Spire. So they had a lot of momentum on their side last year. They were just getting their footing with two drivers, two teams, and now to add a third, I think it might have been a little premature, but we'll see. But look forward to seeing how Front Row Motorsports does here this weekend and in the first half of this 2025 season.
Yeah, you mentioned it. They're young. Noah Gragson being the leader there and 28 years old, something like that. Yeah. So I'll be nearing that in a month. So I couldn't see myself leading a Cup team. So hey, one more thing. You're speaking of Spire there. I saw at Daytona 500 Media Day yesterday, some cowboy in jeans was handing you a Chili's gift card. What was that about?
That was Justin Haley. He's playing the Chili's part right now. I mean, he had a cowboy hat on. He had those were not jeans. I thought they were as well, even in person. It was part of the fire suit.
They're faux.
That's going to be his look this year, driving the Chili's car, promoting some items at the restaurant. Obviously, a huge restaurant chain across the country, and a pretty big sponsor for Justin and that Spire Motorsports team for this season, especially here to kick things off for Speed Weeks. Yeah, he was handing out gift cards at Media Day and played the part well. So we'll see how he does here later tonight. He didn't get on the track yesterday in practice. He was a little frustrated yesterday at Media Day, but was able to get a time in last night, and we'll see how he does in the draft here later tonight for 150 miles.
You know, they sign the check, and then their wish is your command, I guess you could say.
Exactly.
Yes. Kyle Rickey, thank you so much for your time this morning, and we're excited to hear you this weekend for the rest of the coverage of the 67th running of the Great American Race, the Daytona 500. Guys, it's live this Sunday afternoon at 12:30 here with the Motor Racing Network on WLIJ, Middle Tennessee's home for the NASCAR Cup Series. Kyle, have a wonderful rest of your weekend and a great 2025. Thanks for joining us.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.